Hello and welcome back to Netflix Football. Another night, another deep log that Manchester United has got to face. And with the luck we have against deep logs, the less I say, the better. And so tonight to drag on the discussions with how to break the deep block, with how to actually keep Pogba and unlock him in that same case, and how Fred and McTominay are not foosballs anymore. To discuss all that, we have with us some familiar faces. So to my left is the ever-present Jibagda, who's still not cooking and doing the dishes in Poland. And returning after a long, long break is Shubham from Bunk Sports. So Shubham, I'll ask you this: what is actually Bunk Sports about? And tell us your journey with Bunk Sports. And by the way, guys, do follow Bunk Sports. It's linked in the description. He's doing an amazing job, and he's been there from the start of when I started this channel. So Shubham, over to you.
Uh, First of all, Neil, congratulations on hitting 1,000 subscribers, and that's
Thank
a
you.
big achievement. Talking about Bunk Sports is nothing but just my way of giving back. Like all of us know how football drives our life every day. So I just wanted to, like, as a fan, I wanted to create something where you can interact and you can write and you can share your opinion. So for me, it started as a just normal Instagram page, and then it just blew off. And then I have now there's a website, you have a podcast, so all's well.
Amazing, amazing. Really, how football actually connects us and actually helped us through, like it helped me to drive through one of the most difficult times in my life over the past year. And looking back, yes, it's been a struggle. And as you like to use your favorite word, it's been a grind. So the grind is still on. And talking about grinds, let's have a quick look at the lineup. Jibagda, I'll ask you this. Dean Henderson, Wan Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, Shaw, McTominay, Fred, Rashford, Bruno, Pogba, Greenwood. Happy with facing D Block FC specialist Burnley?
Um, I mean, we're playing Burnley, right? I would have preferred Pogba to be in the midfield because then you essentially have like us trying to break them down by threading more balls through from the deep, and that's something we're going to miss. Uh, what we're also going to see is essentially Rashford playing the right wing role, which he doesn't excel in. So that's another area of concern for me. At the same time, Pogba has been making those runs and he has been creating chances from the wing for the last two games, especially with Cavani around. He and Pogba seem to be able to pick each other off right at certain points in the game when we are in the opponent box. Probably he's going to do a bit of that. And let's see, we'll probably may do enough, hopefully, to just come off with a close win at least.
Okay. Shubham, looking at the familiar Burnley lineup, you can probably see 9 defenders and Chris Wood. So give me 10 pieces of. So it's the quote is other way around. So okay, Matt Lowton, James Tarkowski, Ben Mee, Taylor starting in defense. Also starting in the second line of defense is Goodmanson, Jack Cork, Westwood, Brownhill, and Dwight McNeil. And up top is the ever-present Mr. Wood. So Shubham, any surprises that you were or weren't expecting with the Burnley lineup?
No, not at all. I mean, you expect Burnley to form a D block, and you know how they like to grind results. They'll be sitting in their box. I don't expect a very good game, to be very honest. Also, given the history that we've had against this team at Old Trafford, the last time we won against them at home, I think Van Persie was still playing for us. So that's a long way back. Going to our lineup, I think I'm a bit surprised that Rashford is playing because given his injuries, and I would have preferred Pogba off the left and Mason of the right with Cavani leading the line. I don't know why he has been given the rest on the bench, but at the same time, I am a bit optimistic with Pogba not in the midfield because that relieves some pressure of him of the defensive duties, and that gives him more of a free role. You know how he likes to run off the left and then he comes into the midfield linking up with Bruno. So all in all, I am just surprised that Cavani is not playing, but at the same time, I'm just not too very convinced about tonight.
Where is
The
Nick Pope
Burnley,
though? Is he injured?
I have zero clues about the Burnley team.
Because he's
Nick
not even in
Pope,
the sub bench. He's probably out with injured.
Yeah,
Nick
Nick
Pope
Pope
might
was
be injured.
probably injured. Yes, yes, because I was reading an article that he just might miss the Euros.
That's
And
actually a
I'm not
big miss for Burnley then. It's been solid form this year.
because it turns into Lev Yashin. I'll have
Yeah.
anything other than that. Okay, just before we head off to the main part of the podcast, quick word to our sponsors. They are Vice Chimps. Vice Chimps is a digital marketing agency who provides digital presence and accessibility to all sorts of businesses. To give an idea, they provide certain features to their clients, which includes local listing, logo design, virtual tour, verification, and whatnot. In short, if you've got a business, they've got a plan. Similarly, as I speak every day, they have umpteen knowledge and expertise in dealing with social media aesthetics. They have worked with YouTubers, and if you're looking to grow your business on the social media forefront, Vice Chimps is the place to go. And to find them out, you just hit at Vice Chimps Kolkata on Instagram and just do ping them up and be on the course for social media greatness. Big shout out to them for helping me reach 1K in next to no time. And especially if you're there, they are not necessarily new in the market, but they have just started their whole base operations on a whole new level, and it's amazing how far they can reach. The sky is the limit. So enough campaigning for some digital marketing agency. And of course, how can you not campaign for something digitally when you're following a club like Man United, who is the digital epitome of football clubs in world football right now? Yeah, Ed Woodward is grinning out there somewhere. Okay, Jivagda, we talked about the lineups, but let's just move on to the fact that United, like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, this baby-faced assassin, super sub, won the Champions League in the dying minutes of the game in 19. What a match and what a memory to go through. And this season we have done that in quite extraordinary fashion. 28 points this season that we have got after conceding first. So, and every press match post match press conference that I hear Ole Gunnar Solskjaer talk about is that he says the same thing, that we have got to stop doing this. So, Jivagda, your thoughts, that is this something that United put themselves up to, that they're extra cautious on not to concede the first goal? That's why maybe we see a sluggish start, or is it that United need that kick up in the arse to actually find their feet in games like these?
When I was a kid, I heard this saying that a manager earns his wages at the halftime. It seems Ole has been taking that a little too seriously. He's proving this point to Woodward time and again. That this is exactly what I do. But more seriously, right? It's been a bit weird because time and again we have seen the first half is awful, at least the first 30-35 minutes, and then something changes, and then when we come out of the dressing room the second half we play much better. So it's not just the score line, right? It's the overall football itself. And we like, well, obviously we are more cautious before we go down, and then we start attacking, right? Um, so that's very straightforward. I mean, even if we like, it's not about first half versus second half. It's more to do with, if we go a goal down, we start attacking, we start throwing more people forward. The defensive midfielders sort of try to occupy a midfield, a central midfield space, and so on. So that we have seen happening. Now, why that is, I don't think anybody knows on this planet. Very similar to what you said, we keep hearing or always say that we have to stop doing this, but we keep on doing it time and again. So I don't know. It's not a very good situation to be in, because eventually there will be some team like Burnley who's going to play a block of 10 people, and we're going to fail scoring. So not really a very happy place to be in.
Shubham, your thoughts on the same matter?
See, if you're starting slow because we're scared to concede the first goal, then I think we're doing a very bad job, because we always seem to concede the
Yeah.
first goal. And also, right now, I think when you talk about a transition and you talk about how where this team was and now where this team currently is, so I think we're still in a transition. We're still trying to sort that dominance in the game, and I'm not very scared of the deep blocks anymore, because I think the way Oli has handled considerably Pogba, playing him on the wings, I think Pogba and Bruno are now linking up way better than they were when Pogba was in the pivot. And at the same time, how Shaw has grown through and how he attacks on the left. I'm I mean, the low blocks is, I don't think, is a big problem anymore, because we saw the game against Spurs, when the game after the halftime, how we just exploded out. And then even Mourinho was, all of his players play only one thing, they know just how to defend. I mean, If Harry Kane is playing CDM, you just know what he's doing to his team. So if we can break that block down and we can score 3 goals, I don't think playing against low block is a problem. At the same time, starting off the game very slow, I think that is still an issue. And I think Oli has addressed it time and time again that we need to be more brave on the ball. We need to be the team. Like if you're playing at home, if you're playing at Old Trafford, that ground is a fortress. You have to defend the spirit of the place, and you cannot start slow. You cannot always go down and concede the first goal. So yes, that is an issue. But at the same time, as you're talking about comeback kings, no one has done it better than us. So I'm not like particularly afraid that if we score the first goal, the game is not done and dusted. We're still in it.
So
No, but
speaking
the
off
same
from
thing.
that, right, Shubham, just one sec,
Yeah.
Samrat. Essentially, I think one major problem that has been there is we don't have fans in the grounds. And when it comes to Old Trafford specifically, that's a major problem because you start off like any other game. If you had fans in the ground, they pump you up, and that's probably been a factor. But I cannot defend this 28 points coming from behind, citing that as the only one.
Uh,
But it probably
Okay,
is one of the many.
I don't think the fans is a major contributing factor because I can take you back to the game against Leicester, which we played last season at home. It was a 1-0 win when Rashford scored a penalty, and we were dreadful in that game. We started off way slowly, and I mean I think that's more to do with how the players react and how they want to assert their game on.
Yeah.
And I mean we are more like just let others play and then we'll slowly get into a groove and then we'll start the attack. I think the next step for this team is to each and every game like how Pep releases his players. They play their position game. They how Liverpool start the game. They just attack and attack and attack and they're sort of in the defense. I think we're good defensively now with Henderson in goal, and Maguire is doing a very good job. Luke Shaw is doing a very good job. But our pivot has to contribute a bit more. They have to move the ball further a bit more quickly rather than just passing it sideways.
Rather, Shubham and Jivakta, I'll give you three scenarios in this prospect that whenever United have kicked off in any game, sup- earlier what they used to do, there was a back pass, and suddenly 2-3 passes, Fred has the ball, and suddenly there's a miss pass in trying to find someone over the top or an ambitious Hollywood-esque pass or something 75% close to that. Recently, what they started to do is United piled up men towards the left hand side, Pogba, Bruno, and winning the second ball. The ball went to Lindelof, and there's just a diagonal. And this is what happens when United kick off. When teams like Burnley or teams who have a top center forward like a Giroud or like it is Wood today, that whenever they kick off, it's the same thing. The centre backs have the ball, they pump it up, somehow they win the second ball. Especially what we saw against Fulham, where Lookman scored the goal. They won the second ball that we failed to do very clearly. Tactics and all aside, Jivak, I'll come to you with this that Oli and his coaching staff must know that this kind of team, if they kick off or if we kick off, these are all the scenarios that are going to be, because I'm sure that they have separate training sessions before match to discuss this kind of thing where the audio visuals are connected. So I don't understand the fact that even though knowing that this is going to happen, why is it still happen?
I mean, I
So many
could point
times.
to about I could point to 7 or 8 things and say that we know that this is supposed to happen, and we ideally should be trying to prevent this, and this still happens. This goes back to the discussions around the coaching staff that we've had. We have a lot of coaches who have the United DNA but no credentials as coaches. So there is a lot of like storytelling perhaps that goes on behind the scenes and charging people up. But when it comes to technical preparation, looking at this bunch, it fails to inspire me and think that, yeah, there is a fantastic amount of technical preparation that goes on. Second ball has been a problem for us through this season, possibly even beyond. I don't remember much of the last season, but this season, the second ball has been massive problems for us. We have conceded, like you said, the Lookman goal is probably the most glaring example that we have. But we can talk about similar things, right? We've talked about the deep defense line. We've talked about the fact that we try to play out of the back, and then there is nobody who can pass the ball and connect the play from back to Bruno. We can talk about the fact that there is no creativity in the midfield. We can talk about a lot of other things. We can talk about how Wan-Bissaka gets isolated on the right wing and fails to cross the ball and be a contributor to our team's attack. So there are a lot of things that we can talk about this, and I genuinely think United's coaching staff is really not a top 4 or even a top 6 quality coaching staff at the moment, because otherwise these issues would have been addressed by them by long before now.
Very interesting take. Okay, Shubham, thanks for joining in. Says Ramos leaving Real is all over the internet. Shubham, any thoughts? Whether would you want Harry Maguire to partner Sergio Ramos at 35 years old in the Premier League?
Not at all, not at all. Because I think both of them have a similar kind of profile. I'd rather have Rafael Varane than Sergio
Yes.
Yeah.
Ramos. And yet again, I think these rumors come across every year that Ramos is leaving now. There's Varane is leaving. Then you have the Ronaldo rumors that he's coming back to United. I couldn't care less. Thank
Have we
you.
had those this year? Ronaldo yet? Have we heard anybody say that?
Yeah,
Of course. That we're doing a transfer swap with Pogba going the other way and Ronaldo
perfect.
coming back.
Yeah, cool,
Yeah.
got it.
So it happens every year.
Oh
if
my
you're
God.
talking about rumors, I'll give you a better rumor. I'm looking at a tweet from Mohammed Buhafsi, right? And he's saying there will be an announcement later today or sometime in this week that there are 12 mega clubs who are announcing an open war against UEFA, and there will be a formalization of a European Super League. And he's talking about
even I read
six,
about that. Like six
yeah,
clubs
so
have
that's
already signed up,
no,
including
so
us.
he's saying 12, 6 of England, the top 6, and then
Yeah.
Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico, and 3 Italian clubs. So that's probably going to be interesting in the next week. That's much more interesting than Sergio Ramos coming to United, if you ask me.
Now we'll talk about the European Super League or whatever is it called in some time later, because I think I remember UEFA clearly issuing a warning that the license or something will be cancelled with if they formalize that, and I don't know what is the cause and why is it happening. So we'll take that aside for a moment and talking about deep blocks. Well, none other than these two gentlemen who are imperative in tonight's match to actually have that precision in play and that combination in play to actually make that deep block much more widened than what normal people see. So, Shubham, why don't you get a heads up on how Bruno and Pogba, one of your favorite topics, should function? Because we see whenever Pogba starts on the left, he dips central, Luke Shaw making that overlap and making that space out wide. And do you think that it's general consensus Bruno and Pogba play like Bruno and Mata? They combine very well because they are both skillful playmakers who know actually how to play the ball. And Pogba's physicality over the last few games has blown me away. And would either of them come in handy tonight, considering, or would we see again the same thing? Pogba isolated, Bruno coming deep, lack of creativity, players, there's just no running in behind. So because there's no space essentially, so no one takes a gamble at that point of time. Or would it take another Marcus Rashford super run and Lindelof super ball to actually break the defense this time around?
No, see, the thing is that two intelligent players can always play together, first of all. And then Bruno and Pogba, their bowling IQ is probably unmatched in our team, maybe behind Mata. But at the same time, Pogba not playing in a pivot and playing on the wings, I think that gives him a license to go forward and releases him from his defensive duties. And I think that is what brings out the best of Paul Pogba. And when you have someone like Bruno who can link up with him, who can play the 1-2 passes and then put in the final ball, I expect a lot from Pogba when he's playing on the wings or in a midfield pivot, because even when you look at how he plays for France, he is so successful because he has a workhorse like N'Golo Kante right beside him, who can do all the defensive work and take all the pressure off him. Now, in United's setup, you have two workhorses in Fred and McTominay. All they do is win the ball and just pass the ball forward. Now, Bruno, looking at the lineup, I think that Pogba will play off the right. When last time he played off the right, I think it was against Liverpool in the league game when he almost scored the winner. Yeah. So again, he can play on either wings, and Bruno and Pogba, I'm expecting a big performance from them. And at the same time, I mean, as I previously said, that missing Cavani in this game, I don't know. I mean, Mason is young and he's still not an accomplished striker. So I am not very hopeful of him getting, making those runs that these two guys can find him. But let's hope for the best. Yeah.
Interesting topic on Cavani. We'll talk about that a bit later. But Jivagda, I'll ask you this: that on the same note that Pogba playing on the wings, what happens is he gets close to the box a lot, and he actually requires three people to actually stop him. And that what enables that is Bruno Fernandes, likes of Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford, and probably Mason Greenwood, to have much more space than what is required. And with Burnley's set of tactics, they'll probably put 3 men on each player and still have 20 more with the work rate and the effort that they put in. It's just magnanimous what a Shondai team brings to you on the pitch. And that counter as well, which probably I think Fred and McTominay are vital. Other than Bruno and Pogba, as Shubham was saying, that you two intelligent players can always play together. They are don't bash me. Fred and McTominay. What? No, just hear me out for the moment. What I call them intelligent because see, there's a clear lack of ability that we can all find, but both of them playing together essentially knows what their job roles are in that midfield. Even if that's football, they know it. Whenever I see a Fred and a Pogba playing, someone of the defensive midfield starts to get panicked because you know your partner somewhere know your partner is not going to be there. So other than Bruno and Pogba, and in addition to Bruno and Pogba, how much important are Fred and McTominay in today's match actually winning the balls up high? And Fred and McTominay have been in the goals very recently. Fred has been in terms of assists as well. So do you think after Fred's goal against Tottenham with that wonderful time done, we'll see much more from him or McTominay or him and McTominay in today's match in trying to break that deep block?
One word that basically hit my ears when you were saying all of that was press and win the ball high. I have never seen those two be consistently press very high on the pitch. That's something we have been like crying out loud for them to do, but that simply hasn't happened, especially with Maguire and Lindelof playing. There have been times, there have been games where we have done it. We played pretty high against City, for example, which shocked the daylights out of me. But on a consistent basis, I haven't yet seen that. At the same time, again referencing the article that you briefly mentioned earlier, this team is a work in progress. So every single day you expect to see some small thing or the other clicking into place, and we hopefully sustaining that thing clicking into place going forward for other games. So hopefully Fred will take heart from the fact that he made a forward run and he scored a goal. Hopefully McTominay will think that fair enough, this is Burnley. We need to essentially chase them in their own half because they're clearly not going to play the game in our half, right? Hopefully, with all of those things coming together, we'll see a team that's pressing Burnley in their defensive third, and that is going to be essential for us to win the balls and for us to create pressure in the Burnley defense. Because as you mentioned, there will be 9 people or there will be 10 people defending Burnley's defense. Unless we press the hell out of them for good 80-85 minutes, we are not going to break that defense down. We have seen us not do that against the likes of Sheffield, and unless we really learn from our mistakes, play the game high, and really have a go at them, we are not going to break them down today.
Absolutely. And very quickly, coming back to Shumam before I go on to the next topic, is one player that always interested me was someone playing on the Burnley ranks, who is Dwight McNeil. Okay, I have a question from Ajit. Ajit, thanks for joining in. Something off topic, 12 clubs and given approval for, okay, the same thing. European Super League, including United among 5 English clubs, 3 Spanish and 3 Italian clubs. What do you think because of the current situation for Oni? Ajit, we were just having this discussion like 5 minutes back, and we decided to postpone it in the off season. So because there's a lot to talk about, and it just won't cut it in 5 minutes of what is, because there are a lot of developments as well that are yet to happen. And with much more information, we'll definitely provide you with what's going on. So as usual, tu to bhai rehta hi hai, so do stay tuned. So okay, Shubham, coming back, that Dwight McNeil has always impressed me as a wing, as a left-footed winger, lanky winger, is released from the club, having not so much physicality, and he is doing pretty well considering the way he plays on a counter-attacking team, the pace he's got, the trickery he's got. If you don't get probably a Jadon Sancho or a Rafinha, would bringing back Dwight McNeil for quite a substantial amount would make a reasonable signing, because he's not that half bad a player, is he?
No, it's not. But at the same time, I think you can get a better talent than Dwight McNeil. And you're talking about a club like Manchester United. Is he the kind of player who can fill in the shoes of David Beckham and Cristiano Ronaldo playing off the right? No, he cannot. I'm sorry, but there are better talents available. I'll absolutely break the bank for Jadon Sancho, and if we cannot land him, then you have Leon Bailey available. You have Griezmann available. Oh, sorry, Dembele, Usman Dembele, not Griezmann. Sorry, don't slate me. You have a lot of good
Even
talent,
Musa
American
Diaby,
driven talent
Leon
available.
Bailey's partner at Leverkusen, he's also very special
I mean,
left winger.
exactly. There are a lot of players available. Dwight McNeil, I don't think so. And even then, we have our young wingers waiting. You have Ahmad waiting. You have Pellistri on loan. So I don't think that Ahmad at this level would, if he's given a lot, some game time, I think he can perform at the level at which Dwight McNeil is already performing. You saw the goal against AC Milan, which he scored, that run and that header, the audacity to do that to Donnarumma in a Europa League match, knockout match. That boy has a lot of talent and a lot of potential. So I'm not very
And a
keen
lot
into
of
getting a right
cojones.
winger. Exactly. I mean, if we cannot get Jadon Sancho, I won't go for any other right winger. I'll let Ahmad develop. I'll let Greenwood and Ahmad fight it off of the right. And yeah, that's about it. I'm not very convinced about Dwight McNeil.
Too much. Fabrizio Romano was saying that United are not working to sign Jadon Sancho because there's already a deal in place. I'm sure most of you have read about that. That United know what the agent fees is going to be, what the player demands are going to be. They've all agreed to it last year itself. The offer still stays the same. Only where Zorch coming out and publicly stating that they'll accept astronomical offers for Jadon Sancho, which translates to that we are in trouble. Someone please come and say that gives room for negotiation. And there was an interesting piece on Twitter doing the rounds that United have actually cooled interest in Jadon Sancho, maybe to deploy it as a negotiation tactic because they are waiting for the player to actually make the first move, which was expected the last. Okay. So we'll talk about transfers after the season. And so Jibokta, going back to the article that you referred to very recently, brilliant piece on the Athletic that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is his own man right now, right? That's what the heading read. Going through that brilliant piece of write up, what I understood clearly was that there's a foundation that's in place. Somewhere down the line, when Pochettino was available on a free and Ole was in trouble, and with the board that we have close to Roman Abramovich's sacking nature in the last few years, could have easily gone for it. But they showed trust and faith in Ole in his most difficult time, and he has turned it around with hook or by crook. By hook, I mean Fred. By crook, I mean McTominay. He has turned it around, and he has done quite seemingly so. And going off Gary Neville's initial assessment, and you finish a good second, and United are very close to doing actually that. Might all change with a Chris Wood goal tonight. And anyways, Ashley Barnes is always up our backsides anytime we play them. So to let us some insights about what that article actually spoke about and how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can develop into that, can fill up the boot of that pedigree of a Man United manager that we might see in years to come.
Yeah. And let's start with a question that often get asked in a lot of discussions around managers, right? That if Ole gets sacked from Manchester United, will he land a job at a top club very soon? And my understanding and my theory is that he won't, because this job very specifically brought him in to be developed into the next Manchester United manager. If he ever succeeds, he will probably be a Manchester United manager. He will probably not be a very good overall manager who can just plug into Real Madrid and like turn around the way that they're playing and make them into the next like Champions League winners. So the job was very specific for Solskjaer. First of all, to repair the dressing room. Second of all, to sort of start building the foundations of the next team that will be sustained over a period of 7, 8, 10 years. Which is to say, it's essentially a core of players who are very young and promising. And thirdly, to hold on to the talent that we have, because when he came in, a bunch of people were clearly forcing their ways out of the club, like Anthony Martial and Paul Pogba, for example. And when I look at whatever has been done in the last 3 years, he has repaired the dressing room. We have Paul Pogba praising Bruno Fernandes and people like giving each other one up in on Instagram and every
The
single day. You
camaraderie
see that.
has been immense, right?
Exactly. So right now the overall team spirit is at an all-time high. Number one. Number two was he took a team that was in like that literally dropped out of Champions League places, got them back playing Champions League football again, got third position this year. We got second position, and a lot of people say that that's because this season is a non-standard one. Liverpool have had injuries. that's not Solskjaer problems, right? He can only beat what is in front of him, and he was dealt the exact same hand that every other team was dealt. We did not have any preseason. We lost two games absolutely ridiculously because we did not have any preparation going into this new season. Despite all of that, he's sitting pretty at second. If City slip up again in the next 2-3 games, we're going to be actually pushing City. I know that's not going to happen. That's fantastic thinking, but essentially that's where we are. We are not too far off from challenging the first team who's ahead of us, and essentially we're much better than the third place team. 9 points ahead, I believe, at this point of time. So he's clearly covered the basis that he was brought into cover. Right? He's checked the large boxes. Now, obviously, the football is not that good. We all know that, and that is because of a couple of things. One, his tendency of sticking to the players that he trusts will grind out results that he needs. So it's a very boring insurance policy versus playing the Manchester United way and throwing the game open for multiple results. So there are criticisms of him, but at the same time, if you look at all other managers, which is where the article goes, right? If you look at all other managers, they bring with them a certain philosophy or way of playing football, but also quirks, which in United's case for the last three managers haven't worked. And so the merit of bringing in Solskjaer was that he did not have a very cast in stone of way of doing things. It's essentially he would come in, he would mold himself as well as the next bunch of Man United players and the team overall in the way that suits Man United better. And that is a blueprint that was not in place right after Sir Alex left. We know about how Mourinho came in, dismantled uh, certain departments that were in place, which essentially helped the managers make certain decisions about player physicality, so on and so forth. So whatever Man United stood for and the structure and the infrastructure behind United was essentially gone, and he started building those pieces from the ground up. On his way, he's made a lot of appointments which I think are dubious, because I believe there are a lot of appointments that are essentially his reunion from the time that he was playing for Man United, and we don't have a clear view of their credentials as what they bring in those roles. But he has been given the license to do that, and he's been asked to do two things. One is to show progress on a yearly basis, and to build the team that Man United is known to have. And I think he's done pretty well, and that's essentially what the overall article is about.
Shubham, on the same note, remaining on the same topic, like people often criticize us that Manchester United cannot get past a semi-final. But the fact that United have gone to so many semi-finals, even with the weaker squad that we have had since probably Louis Van Gaal left, or even Jose Mourinho left, he had a wonderful squad. Is this probably being overlooked in terms of toxic United fan base that we are right now? Very honestly, very sad to say that
Yeah.
that these achievements are actually overlooked when it should be lauded, because going into, I don't remember a United side in the last 5 6 years going to so many semi-finals at a consistent rate. Do we should?
See, the point is that we as United fans, we've been spoiled by the success that we've had in Sir Alex. And now you're at a threshold where you have a new manager who's trying to build the old identity back. He's trying to actually get the players to play a certain way who are actually committed to the future of this club and not their own personal PR. So it does take a lot of time. It does take a lot of effort, and five semifinals is not a bad achievement at all. And when you look at those semifinals, the way we have lost those games, we weren't tactically outclassed. No, we were not. It were individual mistakes. You look back at the Sevilla game in the Europa League last season. Then Love lost the ball and we conceded a goal. And you also go to the back, what match was it? FA Cup match, yeah, against Chelsea, when
Yes,
clear penalty on Martial wasn't given. So
and De
to
Gea was
say that
horrendous.
exactly De Gea. So these are individual mistakes which have cost us big time. People have been critical of the way we've set up, the way our football is being played. But is it all on Oli? Because he hasn't been given his transfer targets. Does he have a striker in place? No. Yes, Cavani is playing a good game, yeah. So he wanted Haaland, he didn't get Haaland. He wanted right winger Sancho, he didn't get Sancho. He wanted Jude Bellingham in that midfield, he did not get Jude Bellingham in that midfield. He wanted a centre back alongside Harry Maguire, he did not get a centre back alongside Maguire. So he has to play with the players that he has at his disposal. So yes, the football will be limited because the talent of Fred and McTominay is limited. You put a Bellingham in there who's putting in performances on a grand scale week in week out at such a young age. You get better football. It's as simple as that. You get Jadon Sancho in that team. You get Erling Haaland in that team. You play good football. You win matches. You get over the line. To win big games, you need big pedigree players. And as unfortunate as it sounds, we do not have a lot of those players. It's a game of margins, as Oli very rightly calls it. And unfortunately, we went on the wrong side of the margins. So I think Oli is a brilliant manager. There have been talks about him not being tactically very sound or his backroom stuff not being very, good in that term. If he's not that good, how are we second on the table? How do we have a 9-point lead? How are we improving year by year? How are we beating Pep Guardiola? How are we beating Marcelo Bielsa? How are we beating Tuchel? How are we beating Ancelotti? How are we beating Jose Mourinho? How? These guys are the biggest names in football, and we are beating them. We're not just grinding out results or hitting them on the counter like we was doing last season. We played Everton off the park when we were playing against them at their own ground. Yes, we did concede another early goal, but then we kicked into gear. And credit has to go to the Oli, has to go to the players, to the backroom staff, and you rightly pointed out that we did not have a very good preseason. We did not get that time to prepare, and that has carried throughout the whole season. Like Oli mentioned it in his press conference or something like that, that we did not get enough time to, tactically set up our team to work on different tactics. How many games? I think we've played most games in Europe this season, and we're the only team who's played all these midweeks. I think this will be the first midweek that we're getting an off.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Player fatigue. There are a lot of reasons that have to be counted, and yes, rightly mentioned that he is learning on the job, and I don't think he'll ever get a job at a club like Real Madrid if he's sacked from this team. But I don't think he's getting the sack to begin with. I think he's building a very fantastic team. He's building a fantastic squad. You have to keep in mind that this is a very young team.
Right.
Our striker tonight is not even 20. Okay, our left winger is 22, 23, Marcus. And so this is a young team, and the only thing which is missing are trophies. And this is a big opportunity. Europa League is a big opportunity. I'm not expecting us to do any damage to City in the league this season. I don't expect them to slip up. But Europa is a must-win now. Oli has to prove it now.
Absolutely. And talking about the bit pedigree, I do agree with that you need some of the players, but what he has done with what he has, so the first thing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did from that Mourinho squad is reduce the average age by a light year. Our average age was near to, we had Matic, we had Mkhitaryan closing to his 30s, Smalling, we had the likes of lots of Sanchez, Phil. You know what? I'll still have Fellaini in this squad because he gives a different option. But and at sometimes you require those options. At sometimes you require somebody pinging it up because in this Manchester United squad we do not have that other option, do we? So before we actually
Bruno doesn't work, take Bruno off and like play Hoover to Fellaini. That actually has worked. However, ironic that might sound.
The balls that Bruno gave for assists for fun, Fellaini would have headed it for fun. He might have actually ended up top scorer if I'm not kidding. Fellaini is a brilliant finisher. We have seen that time and again. But he wanted regular football, and kudos to him. The first thing that he did was come in and sell Fellaini, like all FIFA managers we do as Manchester United fans.
I think he is coming back to Premier League, and Spurs are linked with him, and Jose Mourinho wants his old man back. So you never know.
Will Mourinho be around till that happens, though?
Exactly. That is a very good question, and I hope he is because I really like to banter Spurs fan. Like, how
absolutely. I mean, Mourinho being there is one problem solved for us. We don't have to worry about that team. That's always good news for us.
Like having the likes of Harry Kane and Son and still doing what they do, and people have the cojones to actually criticize Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Like, the hell with it. Okay, moving on to the tactical analysis segment. Okay, Jivakda, you're up. That we have been talking about deep blocks. So this is a slide that I have from the United Burnley game last season, and you see the number of bloody bodies in the box. This is from a set piece. Probably, this is from a set piece, and this is the defensive segment. Now, what they do is they are essentially very well in both offensive and defensive front on set pieces. Now, the likes of Ben Mee, the likes of Tarkowski, the likes of Wood and Westwood always up there. Goodmanson, McNeil giving the balls in very regularly and very efficiently in these set pieces, and that's the only way out for Burnley. And essentially, before I talk about deep blocks, I'd like to ask you this: Burnley are going to play with niggles and fouls, and they're going to provoke that midfield. Scott and Fred always look to have one foul in them guaranteed in dangerous areas.
Yeah.
And given our set piece prowess on both offensive and defensive matters, would you think Burnley would be a genuine threat on set pieces and the scoreline might be a bit different?
More than Burnley, I think our central defenders will be our biggest threat in set pieces, to be very honest, today. We have seen this time and again, we do not attack the ball, especially at the far post. But in general, whenever there is a ball being floated in, we have serious issues dealing with it. And if we do that today, then the likes of, as you mentioned, Tarkowski, and with those balls coming in from like their midfield, they're going to make merry out of it. There is no two ways about it. They do know that it's going to be very difficult for them to score from open play. So this is their prime way of trying to force an issue. And this is a known vulnerability in our ranks. We do not attack a ball that's coming in, and our known difficulties with the second ball in and around the box. This is for sure Sean Dyche will look to capitalize on.
Absolutely. Quick question from Prashant Bhau. I'll ask Jivakda this, especially because it's Jivakda and Prashant Bhau, whatever. So if no Europa, then deserving the sack, Jivakda? Ole?
It's not going to make life easier for him, but I still don't think it should be a sack for him. Because he anyway to be very honest, I believe progress in the league is much more solid than whatever you achieve in a cup competition. Winning a title obviously would sort of put the cherry on the cake in terms of the progress that we're talking about. So if we don't have that, then it's going to look a lot less glossy, so to say. And we're again going to talk about if Ole can actually win trophies. But that said, I genuinely don't think with the work that we already have done and with the league positions that we're already guaranteed, Ole should be worried about the sack. We already have heard about the board having agreed a contract with him, which is going to be made public by end of the season. So I don't think we're talking about him getting the sack this time. The question that will be asked is if he gets backed in the summer, if he gets the players that he wants, if we start playing better football, and if we start creating actual pressure on City and Liverpool in a normal season. If that does not happen, then we have seen what happens with Van Gaal and we have seen what happens with Mourinho. And if he doesn't get those players and if we don't improve how we play, then he will be gone by December.
Like, interesting thought on this. Van Gaal got sacked after winning a trophy.
Yeah.
And Ole, even when that was to accommodate Mourinho, was at that time a better choice and a better coach than Van Gaal. Pochettino was available and he was the number one target. Everyone was saying the names of Pochettino. After interim coach Ole Gunnar Solskjaer actually took this squad to somewhere in normalcy after the wreckage of a post-Mourinho apocalyptic disaster or whatever he is. So even when Pochettino was free, that's a testament how the board actually trusts him. So okay, moving back to the tactical analysis part. So okay, Shubham, you're up. And talking about deep blocks, that this is probably this is a setup from a 2-3 years, probably seasons back, or even probably the season before, is where this is Burnley's area to operate. Now, why I have Manchester City is number one, they break deep blocks like having dosa for breakfast, being a Bengali. Like we would love to have that every day. Trust, we love South Indian food. And other than that, see the amount of half spaces and the amount of what do I say? Brave they are actually pushing this. This is the average position, by the way. This is the average position in the entire game. It doesn't happen that the way that they have an annual 5-goal margin win against Burnley, the likes of Brighton, just like that, just the snap of a finger. But the positions they take, they are very much susceptible to a counter. What was exactly fielded in the Manchester derby? Every time we used to do this, we used to hobble on a counter and we used to break them down. They're wary about that. But supposedly, United go Shubham, explain this to us. If United go and try to emulate man for man what Manchester City is doing, where would the results lie?
First of all, I don't think we can. That's a big hypothesis. Man City
No shit.
are coached by Pep Guardiola, who's probably the most tactically sound manager in world football, right? So to if we play like the way City play against Burnley and then we lose, I'll be very happy. I'll be like, we have unlocked a new phase of our club and we can now play like Man City. We can pass the ball quicker. We have off the ball movement. We have crisp and short passing. So
If we do that with Fred and McTominay, then I'm gonna say Ole is a better manager than Guardiola.
exactly, I'll be happy with the loss. I'll be happy with the 4-0 loss than if we play like Man City with Fred and McTominay. So first of all, that's not going to happen. And let's say it does happen. Let's say if we do get in those spaces, if we do play a wonderful game, yes, we will be susceptible on the counter because our centre backs are not quick and not even
But
Lindelof, but
neither
they
are
are
Fernandinho or
slow.
Otamendi. That's the point. Neither are Fernandinho or Otamendi.
No, but their positioning sense, the way they read the game, that is key to a player like Fernandinho or even Rodri. The way Fred reads the game, the lesser said, the better. So
Assuming he reads the game, that's the assumption you're
exactly,
making.
you're just comparing Fernandinho with Fred. I mean, I love Fred. I mean, he's a brilliant footballer, and with the
But
limited
there are
traits that he has,
limitations.
and okay, with the limited traits that he has, and the way he covers the pitch, and the way he tries to win every ball. Yes, he has a foul in him, and yes, he has his own brain fades, but I think he's a good squad player. But coming back to
Yeah.
your question, I don't think we can play like City, not at all. And even if we do play, and actually, and then I think Burnley are in for a tough night tonight if we are playing like a Pep Guardiola team.
My God. Jivang, don't you think that we're discussing this? Aren't United due? It's been a long time that the fires were burning. The Spurs match was amazing. Even the second leg was United did not look on gear. That like they were playing out the match in their own pace. Not even through to third gear. It was just first gear when we scored the first goal in the opening minutes, and there was just sluggish football trying to conserve as much energy as possible without actually getting any foul so that no players were suspended for the second leg. We all saw that the players pulled out of challenges. Do you think that probably after a long time, probably after the Southampton win, I don't think we have scored four. I don't think we have scored four. European ties aside,
Yeah.
do you think that this is the game? Probably a weakened Burnley team without Lev Yashin Pope in goal for Burnley. Do you think it's not that we haven't broken deep blocks? There are times that our goalkeeper has produced saves that would make a highlight reel of the entire goal of the saves of the season in the Premier League YouTube
Yeah.
channel. Like, is it more of that case of some sort, or do we genuinely actually fail to create chances like the ones in the match with Sheffield, for instance?
Rather than answering this question, I'll ask you back a question. If we ever go up 1-0 or 2-0 by, say, the 60th minute, do you expect our team to go for the third goal? I genuinely think they
Except
will. I genuinely don't think they will. They will conserve energy. They will essentially try to like get to the next match without breaking a sweat. So I genuinely don't expect a 4-0 win unless we throw in Dan James and then he tries to showcase, like, put down his
be Brian
credentials for the
Higgins.
next game. Yeah, exactly. And then puts a couple of goals past the keeper. I don't see a 4-0
That's
win today, man.
fantasy, by the way. Daniel scoring.
Dude, he has scored. Like, remember his finish a couple of games ago? I've forgotten which match it was. He's been beating decent keepers on their what do you call it, on their near post.
If I'm
So
not wrong, the last goal he scored was in that Southampton win on the Premier League, and recently it was on the Europa League against probably Real Sociedad. If I'm
yeah,
not wrong, Shubham,
exactly.
back
The
me up here.
Sociedad game, exactly. No,
Yeah, yeah,
Sociedad.
yeah.
That's the game goal that I was talking about. So he has it in him. I mean, he can channel his inner whatever George Best, whatever you call him, but sometimes that comes out. Whatever opponent might that it
The
requires to bring
audacity of
that person out. I mean, let it be Sociedad, but he can't, like, once in a blue moon or once in 5 blue moons, he can channel that. We have seen that. So if he tries to do that today, then maybe we can get a third and maybe we can get a fourth. But otherwise, unless those fantastic situations arise, I genuinely don't believe it's going to be that big of a scoreline today. It's going to be a grind. We're probably going to get one or maximum two goals at the end. because we'll keep battering them and eventually they will tire and something will click towards the end of the game. But I don't see us like steamrolling them, to be very honest.
Okay. I hate the word grind. Used too long and too much in this podcast. Come on, we are due for a big performance. Okay. Around 8 minutes to go for the match. Let's have the predictions very quick. Shubham, starting off, Bruno Fernandes is actually due a goal in the Premier League for quite a while now.
Yeah.
So he has to close down Harry Kane, who is probably 4 goals away from him. So Bruno hat trick first half.
Oh my God, that's a huge ask. I'm expecting Mason to get a goal today. Mason
He
and
has
even
been in the
Marcus.
goals.
Yeah, because he's in a brilliant run of form, and the way he's been back to play centre forward. I'll go
Scoreline.
for a 2-0 United win.
2-0 United win. Jivagda against the horrendous set pieces that we have and how Burnley specialize on that, essentially crowding the keeper. Do you think that this is Dean Henderson's first big test as how good a keeper he is with what David De Gea essentially struggled with?
So there are two ways to look at it, right? One is he will probably have like be standing there for 90 minutes and have that one shot to save, which he failed in his first test against Milan. He blundered that goal. So from that sense, yes, it is going to be a test, and that's essentially the job description of a Manchester United goalkeeper, right? You're gonna probably have one or two shots coming your way in the entire game, and you have to be up for it. So yes, it will probably be a test for him. Um, yeah, but at the same time, I genuinely don't think it's a test that eventually he'll end up failing because he's grown in confidence in that game.
Scoreline?
2-1, another comeback win, probably.
Not again.
That's the safest to predict, right? I mean, statistically, that's the most likely thing to happen.
My God, there was an interesting statistic that I actually forgot to include. We'll talk about details in this next one when Jivagda comes in. That United are the most big chances missed kind of a team in the Premier League, right? Imagine if
Wow.
Rashford has actually scored those chances. He missed quite a lot of sitters, and Bruno would actually gotten credited for assists for that. Rashford would be on course to 30 goals. Bruno would have crossed the 30 assists mark. Definitely. And potential, and we would have been in the Champions League. Definitely, because that Leipzig match, the amount we missed in the last one. Okay, Rupjit Das says it's a draw. He's a Barcelona fan, still reveling from that World Cup. I mean, I am sorry, but when I woke up, I saw that Messi had won the Copa. Then I realized it's not America, it's Del Rey. So that still stays. So probably Barcelona fans don't hate me. Hate yourself when Messi leaves at the end of the season and comes to Manchester United and scores a hat trick against you next. We love to dream. It's the theater of dreams for a reason. So okay, as far as I'm concerned, the match is going to be a grind as well. A draw looks a likely result because until unless Cavani gets in, I don't see those movements in those pockets that are required to break this deep lying defense. If Pogba starts bowling, we can expect a foul. Probably expect a Bruno Fernandes penalty. Probably expect a Bruno Fernandes penalty. So whoever's betting, you can bet on that. बाद बाकी मत उसके बाद नहीं हुआ तो गाली मत दियो. So okay, around 4 minutes to go to the match. Thanks Jivagda, thanks Shubham for joining in. Not on short notice.
Thank you.
I've had actually proclaimed it a long time back. So let's hope for a good game. Let's hope actually that we have a decent performance. I'll be happy with a decent performance. If considering Wan Bissaka gets some rest and Rashford scores a hat trick in the first half and is substituted at halftime. That could be a fine match. So, okay, keeping this to a premium. Thank you guys for joining in. Bye bye. Let's see you probably. Let's keep yourselves free for the semi-final tie. We'll have a good podcast on the Roma one. Okay.
Sure, man. Sure.
Chalo. Guys, by the way, do follow Bang Sports. I've linked him in the description. Do add to this community. He does wonderful. If I say it's a job, it's dispraising him. But the hobby that he puts, the energy that he puts into it is amazing, and I get inspired by that every day. So keep doing on the good work.
Thanks a lot, man.
Shubham, Jivagda, please do your dishes. It's smelling from over here. Come on.
I was hoping you would
Come
come
on.
over and do it for me, man. You paid money to learn how to do them.
In a professional way, but imagine Poland and smell doesn't go anywhere. So, anyways, I'll be kicked
true.
off this forum.
From your own podcast. Imagine how that would be.
Okay, so enough of the nonsense shit. 3 minutes to go. Bye bye for now. Let's see you on the next one. Chalo, bye.